UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, is warning of a lost decade for children as the COVID-19 pandemic drags on, keeping schools closed and widening the gap between rich and poor countries. UNICEF says 100 million more children have fallen into poverty in the last 2 years. Malnutrition has risen, as has child labor. Over 400 million children have been unable to access remote learning, with many now missing 2 years of school. Now, these are terrible numbers. We're joined now by James Elder. He is the UNICEF spokesperson in Geneva. It's good to have you on the program, Mr. Elder. COVID-19, you say it's the biggest global crisis for children in the 75-year history of UNICEF. What's UNICEF telling the world what should be done?
Yeah, it's quite heartbreaking. I mean, I think what should be done is an understanding and acknowledgement of just how bad things are for children across the globe, of course. We're not just talking developing world, we are talking from Berlin to Boston, but we are particularly, again, talking about those children at the margins of society. Yet again, they've been allowed to fall through the cracks. So firstly, as an acknowledgement for people just to understand that even though everyone's been doing it tough, there are some people in corners of the globe who haven't seen any government handouts, haven't seen any online learning, any Wi-Fi, and they've just seen parents lose jobs. They've seen increased stress, less meals, more violence. And then, of course, there are things we can do which come around, social welfare and better education and so on. But it's an acknowledgement of what's happening to children right now, so we can get away a little bit from just that this is only about me. In fact, it is happening to our youngest citizens at a time when we're also asking them to, look after the planet, please.
And it's hard to imagine a crisis that could be worse. We've got 2 years of children at the same time falling into malnutrition and missing 2 years of an education. How do you ever recoup from that?
Well, it's a very good question, and it's very difficult sometimes. And mums and dads around the world in the last decade have really done everything in their power to get their children to school. We've seen incredible, historic numbers in terms of children from, South Africa to Senegal, going to school, and that's on the back of organisations like UNICEF, it's on the back of governments like Germany, and it's on the back of mums and dads. A lot of that is being undone right now. We're seeing children out of school. We're seeing, as you say, malnutrition increase. A lot of children get meals at school. So we need at this point to make sure, one, that the vaccine is getting around the world, and two, that people, particularly at Christmas, just remember that little bit of generosity. Remember where those funds can get to, because right now there are kids through no fault of their own who are doing it tougher than they've ever done before, and they're resilient. They do tend to find a plan, but at the moment they're out of options, and they simply need the sort of support that UNICEF seeks to provide.
I mean, what you're doing is invaluable, especially for the future of our planet. But how real is this risk of us all suffering from a lost generation because of what has happened in the past 2 years?
I think it's very real. When we look at things like education, we look at mental health of children. UNICEF has done that. Again, that's from the developing world across. What it's meant for these children to be restricted at home, to not be at school, what a couple of years lost education does, and it's lost education if you can't get them access online. And remembering at a time that there is a climate crisis that young people are very much aware of. So these are the issues. Now, we also know that things like social welfare, social grants, investing so that children can get access to online work, even turning it around so we get more water and sanitation to children in schools, because that helps prevent COVID. We do know the solutions to this, but unfortunately, and no one likes to hear it, the solutions require money. And yet we know that when we educate a child, there is literally no better investment you can possibly make. And I don't mean just that from the heart. I mean that as a practical economic investment. Yeah. So it's still time to buckle down and realize that we need to invest in those younger citizens who bear no fault for this or any other crisis.
Yeah, and I think as every parent will tell you, you can't, even if you have a lot of money, you can't buy back the time that you've lost. James Elder, spokesperson for UNICEF, joining us tonight from Geneva. Mr. Evans, we appreciate your time and what you're doing. Thank you.